Alright, another video, same day as the previous one that was just uploaded. It's 15 September 2025. Can't believe we're already approaching the end of the year. That's crazy. But trust me, I like to sometimes talk about relative things that are going on right now. Like recent things that are going on, recent events that go on right now. Like, what's going on with like Charlie Kirk and shit. My platform will never be one of like politicalness and giving into like political topics and whatnot. I'll never be discussing those. However, I want to talk about video games and things that make people, positive. You know what I mean? I think there's a place for negative conversations to be had, like negative stimuli to be discussed. Just, for YouTube, you come here for entertainment. For me, you'll be always coming here for entertainment. If I ever transform or turn this platform into something where I can discuss negative and positive things, so be it. I think I've discussed negative things before, but my point is that I want to talk about things that I think are entertaining, not a fucking man with a wife and two kids getting assassinated on this platform. Like I don't want to talk about that. Maybe I shouldn't even have said that, but I didn't use the D word. I didn't use the D word, YouTube, so I'm not fucking demonetized yet or anything, or I don't have a flag in my channel yet. But I'm getting off topic. What this video is supposed to be all about is me talking about Silksong, and I mean I've always been late to the Hollow Knight party, and that's mainly because of the fan base being a bunch of crazy, like, I don't want to say crazy pricks, but a bunch of crazy ass people. Mainly because of any indie showcase ever happens throughout the year, the first thing these people think is Silksong, 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 Silksong! And like, I saw that at first. I'm like, oh hell yeah, it's been 3 4 years. Yeah, let's see it. But after the 6 7 year mark of them developing the game and them still just hoping that there's news for Silksong, it was like it got too much. To me, it became a little too much. Like the signs were there, either they were working on it or they weren't. You can't just be constantly grasping onto straws. Like for me, I'm a Half-Life fan, and I love the Half-Life games. But I've come to the conclusion that despite there being leaks of Half-Life 3s being in development and things like that happening all the time, I know Valve. Their desks have fucking wheels. If they don't want to work on the project anymore, they can wheel away and work onto another project. But hey, all this to say, Silksong eventually gets announced for September 4th for release. It's now been 11 days since that release. It was absolute fucking pandemonium the second Silksong got released on Steam and all platforms. Absolute insanity. I bought Silksong the day of, after the first 3 minutes of its launch. I check back on Steam and I get scared because I want to buy Persona 3 Reload. I can't because the store's down. Yes, Silksong breaks Steam store for 2.5 hours. The sale was on for like 3 hours more. I just barely got the 55% off Persona 3 Reload sale. But that's besides the point. I hop on the Silksong, and a week beforehand, I made sure to complete Hollow Knight. I think I completed Hollow Knight the day before Silksong released, and it was a fun game. I had the ability to 112% it, but I can't lie. The second I got that delicate flower, which is like a necessary item for 112%ing the game, I destroyed it so fast. They're like, oh, you gotta deliver it to my buddy, but I'm not gonna tell you where the buddy is, and you're not allowed to use trains. And I'm like, oh, go fuck yourself. Like, I only got a week to beat this game. You're expecting me to not use trains? Go fuck yourself. Like, trains to traverse around a huge map. But, I pick up Silksong. At first, I find it very derivative of the Hollow Knight, despite the downward attack, the pogo being different. It's instead slanted or diagonal instead of straight parallel, just from the character. Or Hornet, sorry. Um, and obviously, same thing with the characters. I find them charming, especially the one that goes, like, I think their name is Sherma. That character is really nice. So it has that from Hollow Knight. And the first immediate thing I pick up on, especially from playing Silksong, is that the game is a lot more difficult. But Hollow Knight, I think I can count on like one hand. I think it's like I don't even need to say the hand. It's only 4! There's only like 4 enemies that deal double damage, and it's usually like big fat enemies that, like, if you get hit by them, you'd imagine that they would take 2 hearts from you. Like, you'd imagine they'd take 2 damage. You know what I mean? They'd give 2 damage to you. But in this game with Silksong, the tiniest little fucking rat can jump from the ceiling and do 2 hearts of damage, then do fire blast damage, and then it grows 4 of your hearts. Literally, I just fought a boss. I'm not going to spoil, but I just fought a boss during the first act of Silksong, and it was so difficult, mainly just because of the fact that the boss immediately does double damage no matter what attack. Just bumping into it does double damage. And you only got 5 hearts, so make sure of that. You get hit by the boss, and then the boss does a AoE fire attack, which then does 2 more damage. So now you're down to 1 health, which is not ideal at all. But eventually you can pick up things to, increase your health faster, and, things to balance out the game, which is what I appreciate. But at the same time, and I don't get a problem with Silksong's difficulty, it's just a really hard game. Like, there are certain, like, maps on Silksong's, like, roster that are just so egregiously difficult, and I wouldn't say there's no reason for it to be. It's just a challenging game. Like, there are mods to reduce the double damage from enemies and make the game a lot easier, but I can't lie, I feel like the game was intended to be played at this difficulty. It was made to be a challenge. It was made to be difficult, and that's something I'm going to support in the developer's choice, and I'm not going to download that mod. But I can't lie, it's really fun. It's really fun. The only criticism I can really have of the game is that there's these new shards that you can collect, and I think the shards are like currency for the benches that you have throughout the game. And to be completely honest, I think they're utterly pointless, because there's so many times in the game where you max out your shard collection or shard inventory, and you barely ever need to go out of your way to get more. Like, you'll always have more shards. If you wake up from a bench and then kill an enemy, you'll literally replenish all the shards you've spent on the bench. It's very safe, and there's no store where, because this is how I thought about it, right? With these shards, you could have maybe went to a store clerk or some type of bartering system in the game where you can obviously trade the shards in for items. That would have made a lot of sense, because with these shards, you also have to use them to save. So you're basically playing a really risky game as to whether or not you can save from that point. You know what I mean? And I really like that. Or maybe it's not even that. I don't even know what the fuck the shards are for. It's just every time I respawn on a bench, 15 are gone, so I imagine that's the cost for benches. But what happens if you don't have shards? Like, I just think that I need to understand why the shards are in the game. Watch them be so important in the end game. But honestly, I don't know. It's really fun. Like, I really, really enjoy the game. I don't know why I made it sound like I had a complaint. I actually have no complaints. The game is fun. It's just egregiously difficult. And it's like a Soulsborne level of difficulty for Metroidvanias. So if you're comfortable with that, like, go ahead, play this game. But this game is, oh my god, it makes me want to rip my head off sometimes and turn into Frankenstein. Like, there was one boss right before the end of Act 1. Not the final boss, but the boss beforehand. That boss took me 4 hours. It was so difficult. Extremely difficult. And I had to continuously learn its attack patterns, and you couldn't be cocky at all. Like, you couldn't just imagine yourself rushing up onto the boss and getting a quick hit before running away. You have to stand still, make sure you're dodging, and then when there's an opening, just go for the attack. You can't just start attacking while it's attacking, which obviously, makes sense. But, like, you can't make any cheap shots at the enemy. But overall, I think the game is amazing. This isn't like a review, but I think the game so far is amazing. I've just gotten to Act 2, and it's still extremely difficult. But I think the game is really amazing. It really builds off what Hollow Knight had going for it, especially with Hornet's mobility. All of her, like, not tactics, but all of her, like, abilities really complement the game's style and world, and, like, the platforming. So I'm really excited to see where I'm gonna take that, and I really hope to 100% this, and then go back to Hollow Knight and 112% that. So that way I like completely finish the game. That's one of my goals in Steam. So I have so many games. I hope to get all the achievements in every game that I have on Steam. So it's like, actually no, I'm not too sure. I think that would be nice though. So that way there's like replayability. I think that would be nice. Yeah, that's one of my goals. But otherwise, yeah, if you haven't picked up Silksong yet, you're either just not a fan of like the type of game that Silksong is, or I can't lie, you're just being lazy. It's $25. But then again, I don't know everyone's financial situation, so don't go, oh, I can't afford it. Like, I know. You know what? I get it. Like, I'm barely making any money as it is. I'm living off a fucking bursary I got from school. So I get it. But trust me, if you ever have the income to spend on it, do it. It's one of the best, I wouldn't say investments, but one of the best games you could pick up on Steam for $25, by the way. That's his Canadian. $25 Canadian, by the way. Amazing. Amazing price. But then again, that's me. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, all that nonsense. I love y'all. Peace out.